Hi, I'm Vicky Richards. I'm a research officer at the Western Australian Museum in Fremantle, and I chaired the session Preservation and Conservation of Wet Archaeological Materials and Site Management.
My name's John Carpenter. I'm a conservator with the same department as Vicky, and I was in the same session as Vicky.
So why did you choose to organize this session, and what were you hoping to get out of it here?
With the UNESCO Convention actually coming in, with 45 countries already having signed it, and one of their major statements is that in situ conservation, in situ preservation should be one of the first options, not the only option. So we think it's really important that there is some sessions that allow people to talk about in situ preservation, learn about in situ preservation from other people and what's going on, and also because maritime archaeological materials require conservation, all of them do, every single thing, then it's actually an opportunity for the conservators that work on maritime archaeological materials to meet the archaeologists and get a better blend, because I think that there should be more collaboration between maritime archaeologists and the conservators, and it shouldn't just be we recover it and dump it in the lab and the conservators take over. There should be collaboration from the beginning, from when it's on the seabed, all the way through until the finished product between the two professionals.
I'd also add to that, it's just about awareness, because a lot of archaeologists, I don't know how much conservation they become aware of, other than the fact that we do the work. But if they're thinking about that, conservators should be involved from the outset, because if they find something that requires conservation, you phone someone up, can you come and do something about it? If that, in the meantime, that thing's falling to bits, you haven't got that kind of support.
So what do you hope to see accomplished in your research area as represented by the papers in your session over, say, the next 10 years or so?
Well, I really hope that in situ preservation becomes more commonplace, and especially the long-term monitoring of sites. That seems to be one of the issues that hasn't really been followed through, and so I think even if you do nothing to your underwater cultural heritage site, there really needs to be a need for long-term monitoring of underwater cultural heritage sites. I mean, I know that some people have a very large area and therefore can't get to them every 6 months, but there still has to be some sort of priority listing of your sites with respect to the deterioration processes that are going on the site, and so that you can monitor any deterioration or degradation of the site, whether you do in situ preservation or not.
Yes, I'd agree with that as well. And the fact is, once you've disturbed a wreck site, the environment has changed, and you may be able to put interim protective measures to protect that site before you return again.
The other thing I'd like to see is actually more conservation, not literally conservation as in treatments, but on-site conservation surveys, in situ preservation strategies and courses taught in archaeological undergraduate courses. I would also like to see so that they learn about these things and they're aware of them before they become while they're learning to become archaeologists. And I would also, because there's very few people that do the sort of things that John and I do, like the on-site conservation surveys, and we're not quite sure how it would get done, but we're just really hoping that somebody will put their hand up so that we can train people in what we do, because we're not going to be around forever, and we'd really like this to continue on when we retire.
It's a good point, because as Vicky says, we do think about this all the time. We teach people, we sort of hope that they'll say, oh, I'd like to do this, and take it up, but no one seems to be interested in particularly doing that. And it's so important, because also it increases the amount of data that we're getting from everywhere. We can only do so much. We love going to different countries and we'll certainly come and do that for you, but you need to take it up from where we leave off.
That kind of answers the next question I was going to ask, which is the greatest challenges you guys are facing, but it seems like sustainability is a big part.
Sustainability is definitely the greatest challenges, and I think one of the other issues, another thing that's going to be one of the biggest challenges is that as we're going on, a lot of the World War II shipwrecks are going to start being protected by legislation in different countries. As soon as that happens, and there's the issue of oil and other pollutants that is going to become more and more of an issue. And I really think that we need to start looking at these not as just great dive sites, but as potentially ruinous sort of materials for the local people, especially in developing countries where they don't have the infrastructure nor the monetary sort of outlet to be able to do, you know, anodes or that sort of thing. So I think that's one of the issues for in situ preservation, which is going to become more and more of an issue in the future.
I think there's room for an international conference on these issues, because people talk about it, but really I think that we need to really take this seriously now, because we haven't had a huge international kind of effect or release of oil from one of these World War II sites. If you took Truk Lagoon or Chuuk and there was an oil release, a massive oil release in there, it would destroy the economy of the local people. The tourism would be an issue because all the corals would be killed and stuff like that. So I think it's timely that some sort of action is taking place.
But also, and then you're getting like all the mangroves around Chuuk and that sort of thing, which are where all the fish breed.
Yeah.
And you would be destroying that. That's their livelihood. That's how they survive. That's their, you know, that's their food source. So there's all those interactive things. So I think it would be worth, you know, a conference specifically, and maybe a conference like this where there's a very big session on World War II, sort of, you know, warship, those sorts of things, those sorts of issues.
Definitely.
Yeah, and a bit wider, not just from an archaeological point of view, but, you know, try and attract marine biologists and structural engineers and, you know, corrosion engineers and, you know, conservators, bring them all together and have more like a round table discussion, so to speak, you know, especially, and maybe get some ideas about how we're going to deal with this potential problem.
Well, people talk about putting anodes on ships. Anodes normally go on the hulls of ships. If you sink a ship and put anodes on it, it's a hugely expensive exercise. You've got to replace them regularly. It's just really virtually impossible. So I think those issues need to be addressed as to what we can do. If a ship is in a state of collapse, do we deliberately bring it down if it's a diver visitation site, so we make it safe for divers? I think that's the thing we'll have to do.
Do you have any other comments or anything you'd like to say? All right. Thank you so much.